is Alexis and Jerry with the Stapp Real Estate Group, and we are sitting down here and want to answer some of the questions about how the market is right now in real estate. So I have my dad, we're a father-daughter team, and we have lots of experience in this area, especially with buyers right now. What's going on? A lot of buyers are asking us questions. Should they buy now? What's the market like? So we kind of want to give our input on that. So I'm going to ask my dad some questions. Where do you think the market is right now? Do you think it's a good time to buy or sell?
I think it's a very interesting time. I think we have a window right now that we didn't have over the past 2.5 years. A few months after we were released from being on lockdown on COVID and the interest rates came down, and we had an unprecedented over 2 years of just craziness, right? Where we basically had to, if a buyer wanted to buy a house, they had to pay way over asking, not no repairs, and we could waive all these different contingencies. And now when rates went up this year and went up again just recently, we're adjusting what everybody says back to what is a normal market. And if you looked at a normal market before COVID, we were able to make an offer. We were able to get a home warranty credited most of the time. We were able to do like certain health and safety repairs, and we never had to waive the appraisal contingency up front. Maybe a couple unique times, but rarely. So it's an interesting time right now because there's inventory, right? Prices are really great for a buyer, right? And a lot of people, well, I don't want to pay the interest rate right now. I go, well, really kind of just know your numbers. As a buyer's agent, when we talk to a buyer, look at all of the numbers for a buyer. Make sure you have a really good loan officer that you're working with. Make sure you have a really good, CPA that can look at like what is your yearly numbers. And what I mean by that is because if you look at like if you have an apartment and you're renting an apartment but you can qualify for a home, have your CPA also kind of look at your numbers when they get some numbers from the loan officer, and look at like how much money you're wasting in rent compared to owning a home, right? What write-offs, remember, always consult the CPA, but what write-offs can you do that will, when you own a home, that will also benefit your numbers?
Yeah, and I think one other thing is I'm having this question and come up a lot with buyers that I'm calling right now. A lot of buyers, they were ready to buy back in early January, February, but they really didn't have a chance to because of how crazy it was. There was so much competition, but the interest rates were great. But the home prices were going way over asking. And now it's kind of the opposite, where we're having home prices decrease. The interest rates are going up. And a lot of my buyers, and I call them, they say, oh, well, I don't really want to buy right now. I want to wait until maybe next year. Maybe the market will crash. The home prices are continuing to go lower and the interest rate is so high. What kind of advice do you have for those type of buyers who are saying?
Well, if you look at the last 5 years, if you look at the next 5 years, like if a house, let's say in December of 21 or November or even January of this year was going, let's just say it was going for 900, right?
Yeah.
Like today, I did an evaluation to list a home in Fullerton, and I was looking at the home compared to January prices. And I already know it's like $100,000 less, right? Not to say every listing is going to be that way, right? But I'm like, so I compare that. But there's an old-fashioned saying, and I really love this saying. It got brought up to me about a month ago. Remember, marry the home, not the rate. Okay, so interest rates are not always going to be at 6.75 or 6.5 or 7, wherever they're at right now, right? They're not always going to be at that price. So we know that certain things will make the interest. I mean, economists and people that are in the industry, they look at it. So here are some of the things you need to look at. Okay, so we're in an unprecedented time. I mean, we have some of the moratoriums and all that when it happens to foreclosures and all that thing happen. We have an election that's probably going to heat up towards an end of the year from now, especially heat up really well. And just look at what happens to rates during that time. But right now, I mean, I think the next 6 months are going to be a great time to buy a home. I mean, because if I do the numbers for your typical buyer, and they'll have, most of the time they'll have, you know, less outgoing, right? I mean, I run their payments and we look at their tax benefits with their CPA, and they're in a much better financial system, financial, you know, freedom coming up. So
Yeah.
if you don't own a home, I definitely think the number one investment is to own a home, with everything that's involved. So if you want the ability to just run your numbers and talk to us, we'd love to be able to do that with you.
Definitely.